Hey, friends. This is Sophie with Sprinkle with Soil, the author of The Nourishing Asian Kitchen. You'll notice a couple of things are different in this episode. One, I'm missing my better half, Tim, the homesteading realtor. And you'll notice the background's a little bit different. And that's because I actually just flew into Sacramento, California just a little bit ago. Right now it's actually 11:37 p.m. So it's actually close to 3 o'clock my time. But I wanted to pop in because I had a lot of time on the plane just now to think about some things that are going on and just to process a lot of the latest news. So first I wanted to say that I'm here in town again because my uncle just passed away. And not just any uncle, he's my favorite uncle and married to my favorite aunt. So I'm here for her and for him. He was arguably he was the sweetest uncle that I had. And one that I would say became the most successful career wise because he also was a Vietnamese immigrant as well, came here to America, went to college, went to medical school, and became an anesthesiologist. He was instrumental in my high school years and inspiring me to look into medicine and wanting to become a doctor myself. He always made me feel that I was accepted. He never made me feel that I wasn't a part of the family by not becoming a doctor or an engineer. And he celebrated him and his wife, my aunt, celebrated my book, The Nourishing Asian Kitchen. They even watched my YouTube channels and would text me about it. And my uncle actually even called Tim several times when he moved back here from New Jersey to California to help him smuggle a gun when he realized that the crime in the Bay Area was notoriously bad. But I wanted to pop in real quick because I'm here to also represent my family. My mom and dad, health wise, are not doing well. I think I might have hinted at some things with the condition of my father. He's gotten dementia and his health declined, mental health declined quite rapidly in 2022. And 2023, it got really bad. And as with dementia, it doesn't get better. So I've been going through a really tough process in grieving a loved one, my parent, while he's still alive. And that's arguably probably one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with and continue to deal with. My mom and dad were actually in a car accident back in January, and I might have mentioned this in one of our podcast episodes. I don't think I mentioned much about my father because it's really tough to process. But my mom's not doing well either, especially after her car accident in January. That has left her dealing with a lot of physical pain. And she doesn't tell me that she's struggling, but I can see it. Or she tries to mask it. So when I heard that my uncle passed a couple of days ago, I knew that amidst all of the things that are going on in our lives right now, a family is really important. And that means that supporting family, supporting my parents in this way is important. I want to tell you a little bit about not having any regrets because that was what I processed on my flight over here. It was a long flight. But my uncle, he led a very successful life. He raised along with my aunt, raised three just my cousins are all handsome and beautiful and very successful in their own right. But when my uncle finally retired, I remember hearing shortly thereafter that he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Then he went on to get his chemo and radiation therapy. And then after that, in the last couple of years, has struggled with Parkinson's. We have visited him and my aunt whenever we are home, and Tim would even go to visit my aunt and uncle even when I wasn't with him. That's how you know how special you are. And it just made me realize that you never know what might happen. That sometimes I remember when I was working in tech, we would always talk about what your retirement plan was because those are supposedly supposed to be the best years when you get into your 60s. And it made me realize that your best years are now. Your best years are now. As crazy as it seems, in the middle of a move, in the middle of dealing with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different ventures that going on, raising children, being a part of the sandwich generation where we're taking care of our parents, a sister as well, and young children, homeschooling, homesteading, trying to figure out what the future is going to look like for your children with the inception of AI in the last couple of years, how I'm supposed to teach them, what things we're supposed to teach them if college is no longer applicable in the ways that we once thought they were. And I think this is more of a podcast. This is a solo cast for me because I don't want to I don't want to forget about this. I don't want to forget because there have been really tough days, especially in the month of February and March, January, actually all of 2025. The things that we thought we would see change in, or the things that we thought we'd see growth in, hasn't been. And on top of that being like, this is our Shemitah year, which is biblically the every 7 years where we let the ground rest. But we didn't figure out the calculations until I want to say February, March, actually. And so we only had a couple of weeks to get things into the soil, which is fine. But I'm also like left with a lot of all the things that we had planned for this year in terms of what we wanted to do is now on hold. But that means that we also have time to do the other things that we might have put on hold. Book number 2, book number 3, perhaps. And so I'm trying to find the silver lining in all of this because, yeah, we also didn't prep properly the year before. If we had known that this year was going to be the year of rest, we would have doubled our harvest last year. But we were also in the middle of a move last year as well. So, all this to say, there's never the best timing. And if you have something in your heart to do something, and I'm talking to myself here, don't put it on hold. A lot of our clients in the last couple of months to at least a year, there actually have been a lot of retirees. Now, granted, it is because of potential income or equity from the buildup of their home, but let's not discount the fact that these are retirees. And I'm literally working with 2 retirees. They're about to retire, but they're in contract now because they know that this is their retirement plan. And you would think that it would be backwards, right? You think that farming is the young man or the young woman's game. So I'm trying to understand where the thought process is because you must know, our retirees must know that our country is in a place where we have to go back to the land. And it's so interesting because living in the city, I always thought that's actually where you want to be when you retire You want to be in the city. You want to be where there's access to hospitals and all of that. But I think that there is a general distrust for everything that's going on and the healthcare system, the education system, the financial system. There's so much unrest. And it's just so interesting to see that our retirees are moving to the country to learn to farm. This is not something that they've been doing. When we have we have some doctors, we have nurses, we have teachers, we have policemen, and we have pastors that are retiring and getting into this lifestyle. And I say lifestyle because it's not something that you have skills in yet. You have to slowly build these skills over time. And so I know that if you're in my generation, where you're the sandwich generation, where we're taking care of our elderly parents, and we've got young children and we're homeschooling, we're trying to find that balance. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. So I want to say that we aren't guaranteed tomorrow, that there are tough times that we're going to have to go through. But it is so important to know to enjoy every moment that we have because we aren't guaranteed tomorrow. And if you wait until you retire, what if that day where you're waiting for your best years at retirement, what if they don't come? What if your best years are now? And my mom says that, which is failure is a mother of success. And I wish she told me that growing up because she didn't tell me that until I hit 40 a couple years ago. But I think it's just like being an immigrant family or growing up as an immigrant family. We we just I guess I see challenges differently. Um, I the other day I put a reel up because I was actually out there in our backyard and around our property. 3 trees had fallen in the latest storm that we had and fell onto our fence line, our property line where the fences are. And Tim wasn't around. He was showing houses in the afternoon. And so I said, I'm here. I have a chainsaw. I got to learn how to use this. So I actually called our community friends over and showed me how to use a chainsaw for the first time in my life. I've tried it before, but got really scared. And I tried it this time and I did it. And it's interesting because when they came over, I said, okay, there's 3 trees that are down. The first ones down by the creek are the harder ones. And those are the first trees that I saw weeks prior when I saw the trees like on the ground. I was like, oh my gosh, that's huge. When I actually made the decision to have to do something about these trees was because there was a tree that had fallen on the hill and fallen down onto like our pasture area. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty bad. But when I asked for help to show me, I was like, just teach me on the easier one. And in my mind, what's crazy is I actually thought the easier one was the one that fell on the hill, not recognizing afterwards that the easier one was actually the one by the creek, but I thought that was such a huge feat because it was my first time seeing such a tree fall down onto our fence line, at least on this property. We've had trees fall on our other properties before, but for some reason, it just never intimidated me because it didn't fall on the fence line. Someone reached out to me and said that, wow, I admire your tenacity. I admire your courage and your bravery to cut down part of the tree to release the tree from the fence line. And I wrote to her and I said, that's because there is no other option. And I say that because I think a lot of times, I'm talking to myself here, you give yourself other options, right? But when you have a goal and there is no other way but through, this is, there's no other option but to cut the tree down because it's on your fence. Who else is going to do it for you? And I don't know, maybe it was from, I went to a Tony Robbins, like what is it, one of those retreats or conferences way back in 2016, maybe like 10 years ago, I think. And I was a fire walker. You get the fire and you got to get to the other side. You just have to get to the other side as quickly as possible. And I think that there's this, again, I'm talking about this because I'm here in California. And I remember when I was here last, I just always struggled with people telling me to calm down. Things are going to go back to normal. Everything's going to be fine. And we go into these like 4-year voting cycles, right? Like we go from like Democrat to Republican to Democrat to Republican. And I used to have faith in our voting system. I used to have faith in a party, but then I switched parties and then I was like, wait a minute, they're all the same. Because on my way over here, every time I've traveled in the last year, I've always opted out of biometric screening. Even with real IDs, this is a topic that's coming up now. I have always refused to get a real ID. If I needed to travel internationally, I'd always carry 2 forms of ID. Between my driver's license and my passport, that should be enough. But now, if you're paying attention to what's going on, real IDs are going to be a thing, just like we knew. And so it doesn't matter which party line you're on because the agenda is moving forward, right? Real ID you may not think is a threat, but that is the stepping stone. That is the digital ID. That is the social credit score. And it's coming. Whoever's in, doesn't matter who's in charge, right? It's, if you have faith in one party system solving all of your problems, this is where you need to rethink where you're putting your faith in, right? There are things that I really distrust about what's going on right now. And if you knew the people in tech who are now in the White House and have access to the White House with the introduction of the AI infrastructure and $500 billion that we're now investing in it, mRNA technology for cancer vaccines. These are things that keep closing in on us. And to think that things are all going to go back to normal, things are okay, I think it's time to wake up and take back control of what you can before it's too late and to push back, because we've now come to a point in society where we already knew 2020 was a huge division amongst friends, amongst family. We've been a part of that. But we do need to come together at this point because this division is what they wanted. But when you realize that it's all two wings on the same bird and it really is against you, and we look around, it really is just having one another, being self-sufficient in your skills, in knowing how to cook from scratch, in knowing how to raise your chickens, grow a vegetable, grow your first tomato. I've talked about this before. It's just these little steps that we need to take because it's closing in on us, right? If you think that somebody's going to come to help you and change everything, it's not what you think. there's a lot of nefarious things going on that it's very interesting to watch because as someone who studied psychology and someone who studies psychology, marketing, and sales, I am very skeptical of what has been going on with the new administration, knowing that I was half hoping that things were going to get better, but the things that they're selling us is a lot different than what's going on in the background. And that's something to be not scared about, but to take action with that knowledge. And so I leave you tonight to encourage you that your best years are now and that not to wait another day to live your dreams. And so if wanting to pursue a new business, wanting to pursue a new career, wanting to pursue starting your own homestead, moving somewhere, finding community, don't wait. Don't wait another day. All right. So this podcast won't get posted until after I get back from California. But I and I know I'm on a rant here, but use your time wisely here while you have it. Love all those around you and don't give up. You're here for a purpose. And if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out. Until then, stay healthy and I'll see you again.